speakers in various national and international journals. Sir has chaired more than 80 sessions in various national and international conferences, seminars, and workshops. Professor Chakravarty has made significant contribution in the field of research, and his extensive experience and insights will undoubtedly add immense value to today's session. We are eager to learn from his wealth of knowledge and practical experiences. Let's all warmly welcome Professor Chakravarty, sir. Please, sir.
So, thank you very much, madam, for this introduction that I've given. I express my sincere thanks. And am I audible at the first
Yes, sir.
question?
Yes, sir. You are on.
And express my sincere thanks and gratitude to MMTTC Center, Aligarh Muslim University. And I'm absolutely apologetic for the delay that took place. Actually, the email ID, there was a certain goof off with the email ID. It has been sent to my office email ID. That's office generally used. So there is a certain communication gap. And I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to sir who called me. Otherwise, I would have met such a beautiful sessions. But the delay that took place, I'm extremely, absolutely big apology for that. So, nevertheless, without wasting time, we should start our discussion. Now, having said so, you are the esteemed teachers who are part of various college and universities, be it publicly funded or be it privately funded. And all of you have joined in this particular NEP orientation and sensitization program. And for that matter, from all the MMTTs, we are always remain absolutely grateful to all the teacher participants who are participating at this NEP orientation and sensitization program. Possibly, I will request the coordinator, sir and madam, since I start little delayed, almost I lost 15-20 minutes. As a maybe, if you bear with me little extra time, that would be good. Or if there is next resource person is coming, then okay, certainly I'll be the loser because I lose time for interactions. But again, with a very high degree of note of apology, let's get into the issues. Now, the questions of within the domain of research and development, we have two important issues. So one is subtheme 1 and subtheme 2. So subtheme 1 is introduction and subtheme 2 is the constituents of research. Now, herein, what I would try to explain or try to integrate you with the so-called interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research that gradually becoming part of our research agenda. So why, how? This is gradually getting into our system. How far NEP has created scope for that? Number 2. Number 3, what are the precursors behind this? Because it's not that the research and development is a kind of unknown word to us. We are always into that. But what are the triggers? And how those triggers can be translated into reality? And which is not easy at any stretch of imagination. That if we say that, okay, from tomorrow we'll start interdisciplinary research, multidisciplinary research, what would be our lens, our prism through which we would like to relook and reposition ourselves? Possibly that is the biggest challenge. Or rather, that is the biggest advantage also, if we can do that one. Now, with this note, let me get into kind of the word that is there in the development. I will rather prefer to start with that and move backward. And I'll request the coordinator, sir or madam, whosoever be there, please remind me before the time is getting in, maybe the 10 minutes before. So accordingly, I can readjust my lecture. It's a huge loss for me losing 15-20 minutes of discussion. So that is my humble request. Now, the word development, can you tell me there that generally the word is part of our social science lexicon? We mostly use the word. But is it part of social science discourse or society? That means forget about the social science, don't use that term at all. Rather use the term development and society rather. If I use from that perspective, then can you tell me, anyone can respond that from when or whether from right from the beginning the word is part of the society or development is the part of society?
Then
Yes, Alok Kumar sir, please come on. You can give your opinion because this is a mostly a platform where more will get into the dialogue. More it would be beneficial, mutually beneficial. I will also able to learn from you. Please, Alok sir, please stay. Anyone else, Alok Kumar sir, or otherwise else? Anyone else would like to say that the word development is always be part of the society? Okay. Anyway, without since I do not have much convenience of time today, let me get straight away. The word development was not initially be part of the society. There is a process through which the word development actually got linked with the society. We need to, all of us, we need to know that it is important. The word development is actually being used in the biological sciences. In early, if the 18th century or late 17th century, or rather mid of 18th century, if we take that particular, even the beginning of the 19th century, the word was being always part of the biological sciences. And especially the term has more been uh, strongly be pronounced in the theories of Darwin that we know the origin of species. And there, one term that is very important, other than whatever biological thing being explained in the Darwin's theory, I'm not going to get into that. But what I can take out or what we have taken out from Darwin's theory is important. The change is constant. That is the major takeaway from the Darwin's theory. Then, in the 18th century, possibly one German essayist and historian, his name is Justus Moser. Justus Moser used the term Entwicklung. Possibly this is a German word. And in this Entwicklung meaning, it's a gradual process of change. And a gradual process of change is actually a triadic process. I will explain that one. And then it's Hegelian concept of history that is pretty important. Many of you must be much more having knowledge on this issue than in comparison to me. I am a very simple students of economics. So therefore, I have strong limitations in other disciplines. In spite of that, let me share with you what is the Hegelian concept of history. Now, Hegel told that philosophy collects data from the reality. Now, what is that? You need to know. Now, what is actually real may not be necessarily that the general idea that we share or claim or try to make it as a reality. Say, for example, we are in the era of virtual reality. One example let me give here to understand this Hegelian concept of history. Say, for example, my background is visible and this is my room. So, whatever being viewed through this particular camera is hardly differences between real. But many a times we use a background while delivering online lecture. That is a virtual reality. That means maybe some pictures being created and that we piece. Maybe a beautiful room or beautiful nature's background that we use. Now the question that I can ask, that if I change my background and use some virtual background, is that real? Say, for example, just replace this my background. If you look at, you replace this background and put it a beautiful virtual imagery where it is showing a beautiful riverside, a seabed, or maybe a beautiful room. Possibly that's not. If we take out this virtual reality, then what would be in real? Possibly our wall, which might be broken, the shirts and other items are hanging here and there, which is the natural background of every room. So that means what apparently I'm using as a virtual reality, which is not real. So Hegel told that we need to reach to that particular reality, and philosophy will collect data from that reality. Now from that, I'll give another exposition, another example to make the things simple. Say, Catholic Church made us believe for a pretty long period of time that it is the sun rotating around the earth. And if we stand on the earth, we may say, had there been no changes in that argument, and had we keep on watching sun from on the earth, we say, okay, that's the real. And for a pretty long period of time, we believe that this is real. But Galileo and Copernicus and some subsequent scientific journey made us know it's just the other way around. So what is apparently we are looking at and what is reality is may not coincide all the time. So what philosophy does, philosophy collect data from that. And the word development gradually, or the change in the society being brought into the lexicon of society by none other than Karl Marx. Now, what Marx did, Marx actually, I am not going into Marxian theory. I do not have any inclination to do so, nor I intended to. But what Marx did, he tried to make a synthesis between blended up the Darwin's theory that is change is constant and Hegelian concept of history. And he told that the triadic process that Justus Moser once told, then thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Now, this is very much scientific in nature. A strong philosophy is actually dictating behind, is actually the guiding force. I will get into those philosophical issues to understand the interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity of nature and research, and which is very much part of NEP, which is also being mandated by the global knowledge system, which is also in various ways being proclaimed by the Sustainable Development Goals and the concept of education's lifelong learning that has been propagated by the UNESCO. I'll try to integrate that. Now then, if I say, for example, if we accept a term, liberty. Now then, initially say, for example, we understood and we told that liberty means tyranny. We accepted the concept of liberty and tyranny is synonymous. And then we looked at the tyranny. That is, tyranny means I can do anything to everything. I can chop off the head. I can kill a person. I can do whatever I would like to do. Then we realize from experiences. The term experiences, that means I told that philosophy collect data from reality. That means two experiences you have to collect. And what this experiences is all about. Experiences is all about that you are trying to find a reality. Now, having said so, then we rejected that no, liberty doesn't mean tyranny. Then we accepted that maybe the word I can coin in between liberty and individual freedom to do anything to everything. Again, they will discard that one and then we tell that no, this is not liberty. And finally, we will understand the meaning of liberty is something like that, which will unleash the mind, fearless mind. We will get the power to ask questions. We will get the power to search the reality. And we accept it. That is the meaning of liberty. There is freedom is there, equity is there, equality is there, certain ethical basis is also there. I'll come to those points little later. So therefore, in the way process gradually the word, and before that, the word development was not overtly used. And gradually, the word development is become part of the society. That means society passed through a gradual change. Now, this is one of the issues that I would like to put forward first. The second and important thing is that generally when we talk about the research and development within the institutional framework, within the framework of higher education institute, and now it would be, the research would be part of your undergraduate curricula also in the 4th year. Now the undergraduate courses is no longer 3 years, it's becoming 4 years, under 4-year undergraduate courses, and the 4th year is basically research. Now, if that be the case, then what we are, our research is part of a knowledge system. We try to enrich the knowledge system. We try to bring changes in the knowledge altogether. That is the research. We are researching. So search is always there. And if there is constant search, then change is constant. And if there is a constant search, then nothing would be very fixed, given, which is true at one point of time may not be true at the other point of time. Now, another important issue that I told, that the second and important aspect, that we are part of higher education institute, be it a research institute, be it a university, be it college, or be it any institutions spread across the globe, any part of the globe. We do not know from which part of the globe, which region, which area, which country, they come out with what kind of research. That means when the research is being conducted, why the research is being conducted, what we search, and what new thing has been added to the knowledge domain, that we try to grapple, try to know through our disciplinary orientation. That means you may say that, okay, fine, fair enough, my discipline is this, so I know a bit about the changes that is taking place in my research domain or my discipline. I may say that my discipline is economics on a particular issue or couple of issues. I know that what kind of researches are going on, and we can try to find out the trajectory of the changes, the outcome of the research, we can find it out. And all the researchers, they do that. We say literature survey or something like that. I'm not using any technical term here. But the question that remain large, the question that remain partly unanswered, that whether the research is only part of the formal institution or formal knowledge system. So there exists a vast informal knowledge system. Now, when we talk about the informal knowledge system, then the research is having a different kind of flavor, different kind of connotations, but the outcome possibly the same. I give two simple examples to clarify my point. Now, one point that okay, civilizational took place. Once upon a time, we used to live in caves, survives on nature directly. Whatever we used to get from the nature by hunting animals, collecting fruits, maybe the tube roots and everything. Possibly the early civilization, they used to survive in that way. But the whole civilization underwent a huge change, and no Nobel Prize in science can supplement or endorse that. That is with the two strokes of stones, sorry, strokes with the strokes of two stones, the fire got invented. And the invention of the fire changed the entire trajectory of the society tremendously. Because before that, we do not have the knowledge of production and reproduction. Reproduction not in the biological sense, but in the physical sense. Similarly, if I talk a different example, if I give, that we talk about agriculture. Now, who invented agriculture? It's the women who invented the agriculture. And it is also, again, during that period of time, very earlier civilization, the women, they sow seeds at the riverbed, and with the wonder they saw that, okay, sapling came and it got matured, then grains came up, and once these grains got dried, then they are falling on the grounds or on the earth. Agriculture was invented. And the way wheels are invented, and there are many more. Now my question or my submission before you is that, is it part of formal knowledge system? Has it happened in any laboratory? Has it happened in any universities? Any schools, colleges? No. So this is the informal knowledge system. And if you look the entire civilizational aspect to date, we are at the era of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And all of us, we know that it's precisely the algorithms that's being created. Through this algorithm, we try to map the brain and try to supplement the human minds. So we reach to that level. Maybe now we are in a position wherein that we have a microscope which can see the nanoparticles. We have the telescope that can see far beyond our sensory organs. Even we have the satellites that is having imagery we are sending. We are having different kind of voyage to either moon and other planets. So if we take these two extreme points, we are also try to reach at the core of the art to understand the creation of the art. These are all part of formal research system, formal education system, formal knowledge system. But at the same time, I'll give you an example that a couple of years back, the tsunami, one of the biggest disaster that we confronted, the cyclone, the people who are playing or spending vacation at the sea beach, they simply within a seconds lost their existence, lost their lives. We lost the human properties. And we got very worried. about a certain segment, even in Andaman and Nicobar Island, we started discussing what about to those Jaroas who are very old tribes who hardly mingle with the so-called modernized people, modern people like us, stayed in jungle, deep into jungle. What happened to them? Because the forest area got absolutely inundated. And later on, we came to know that they sensed it early and they put themselves in a safe place. And none of the Jaros, they lost their lives. Now the question arises again that in science, we try to forecast, we try to get the signals, read the signals, and we fail to get the signals, especially what is changing in the beneath the earth, whether it is in the ocean or whether earthquake. Till date or to date, we do not have a kind of signaling system that we fail to develop. So we fail to make any substantial progress. We made progress, but not a substantial progress to make a focus that earthquake may take place. Yes, we have identified the seismic zone and so on and so forth. Vulnerability of the seismic zone, what may happen to the anthropogenic activities, all those things we did. And if you read the Sustainable Development Goals or the concept of sustainable development, certainly these are very much talked issues. But the question is important. What are the animals of the forest or the Jaroas? How did they read that particular signals that certain catastrophe is going to take place? Informal knowledge system, even we don't know. We do not have any idea. Again, there is another set of informal knowledge system that needs to be talked before I move further. That is, you take your arts, crafts, music, literature, a huge body of artifacts, as well as different kind of artisans spread across the globe. They never be part of any formal institutions. Those folk singers, irrespective of places, they never be trained in a music college. Again, you take another example. You have a traditional knowledge system, which we call traditional ecological knowledge, TEK. Now, if you look at the traditional ecological knowledge, then you will find that a symbiotic relationship exists between the human beings and the nature, and certain group of people at various places on this particular Mother Earth, be it in be it in Africa, be it in the Himalayan region or Saharan region, be it Tibet, a large group of people, they do survive with the proximity of nature without destroying the nature. And the medical system, the healing system, the knowledge system regarding the knowledge of flora, fauna, all are traditional in nature. They are not part of any formal institutions or formal knowledge system. But that is equally rich. So when we talk about, formal knowledge system, and when we talk about research, when we talk about NEP 2020, where the interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity of research and collaboration that is gaining ground, then the question that looms large over us and the responsibility and the challenges that have been put before us is that whether the reconciliation between the informal knowledge system and formal knowledge system is taking place or not. Number one. Number two is that whether the research the global knowledge system with which we are trying to integrate for last more than 3 decades. And NEP is actually outcome of the liberalization that we have started, liberalize the economy in 1991. The post-1991 India is actually trying hard to become part of the global knowledge system in terms of research, in terms of education. But the major challenges that we are confronting is that whether we are part of informal knowledge system, whether informal knowledge system is getting integrated with the formal knowledge system and all. You may say, yes, we are carrying research, be it in the biological sciences, be it social sciences, be it literature, be it science. We try to find out the informal knowledge system and making research on the knowledge system. But whether the informal knowledge system is actually become part of our research agenda or not, possibly that is the biggest challenges. And if we can take up these challenges, then the word development, quote unquote, that we are talking, by equality, equity, fraternity, all those attributes which the Renaissance, European Renaissance has given to us, from where we have learned, whether the critical minds, the critical thought, that is getting integrated with that or not, that is another aspect of the research. And that research must have to be the interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary in nature. Now, I am frequently using the term interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, but I need to again clarify here that what truly means the interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. So I'll come to this point. Just I'll take I should not take any break because I lost a huge time. Just 2 minutes I'll spend and I'll come back and I'll continue the discussions if you allow me to do so. Just 2 minutes. So with due permission, just I'll take a break for 2 minutes. I'll come back. So just I took a break for 2 minutes. I'll come back, sir. Okay, so let's continue. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the first thing that needs to be addressed here, that what is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary? Okay, all of you are maybe part of interdisciplinary research and multidisciplinary research. I don't know what happened to the video, though. Oh, I think some problem with the video. Yes, this. Anyway, let's continue. I don't know, just I switch off the video and now it's not. Anyway, let's continue. Now, interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. Now, say for example, I'm a economics by training. So then I take up a issue of working on the women issues, especially the women education, say for example. And okay, fine, fair enough. I collected some secondary data, that means some published data sources. I also made some field visit, I collected some data and make some now. What I did that I find that okay, reasons for dropout. I find the dropout rate. I find school infrastructure, different kind of ratios. I find a teacher-student ratio, and then the degree of dropout that is taking place. And then I collected data on male and female. I find that okay, female dropout rate is much higher, and I will conclude that okay, we more some sensitization programs and our policy should be tuned to encourage. Possibly economists, they don't go beyond that. And we don't try to look beyond that. But certain issues also need to be resolved, which I do not have the answer. For example, if I talk about that, what's about the women who are historically being deprived from the knowledge system? And over a huge period of time, they were not part of the knowledge system or getting any kind of education. So we debarred them historically. That is the historical legacy that we are having, and we try to negotiate it in the post-independent India. Secondly, the so-called, rather, the backward communities we called, which we generally mention as scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. We know the caste system was so strong, the lower caste as well as the tribes, they were debarred from any kind of knowledge system historically. Now, these two historical reality we confronted and we negotiated, and I try to come out with policy. We try to come out with different kind of mechanism through which we try to make change, bring a change of that. Now, these issues, if I have to really give a right kind of answer or justification or the cultural moorings that we are having, then the economists will fail. I require sociologists, I require historians, I require political scientists, I require in many cases anthropologists even. And we can give a proper kind of direction to the research, which is called interdisciplinary in nature. And then, if I really move forward by collaborating with different departments, even the the local of you have certain folk culture and folk songs and uh, folk laws which always mention some kind of pain and agony of the women. Possibly that will also help to understand. Now, if I have to progress in that way, then certainly I am my approach is an interdisciplinary approach. Now, the question might be for a research call nowadays we are collaborating. When we're conducting seminars and conferences, international seminars and conferences, we try to make an interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach. But the moot point is that if we have to become interdisciplinary, then where we need to play, where we need to operate, we need to operate at the psychological plane. Because I never try, or rather, I have a very strong rigidity to come out from my disciplinary orientation. That is one of the major deterrent of having interdepartmental, interdisciplinary research. Now, when we talk about the multidisciplinary issues, now what is the multidisciplinarity? Multidisciplinarity is like, say, for example, we are working nowadays following the sustainable development and sustainable development goals. And you find that very environmental aspect, lot of social aspects has also been added. So 17 sustainable development goals and having certain sub-parameters within the sustainable development goals. And from 2015, we are working on a specific target basis that will reduce, it would be zero hunger, zero poverty, then sustainable society, sustainable community, looking at the traditional ecological knowledge or the traditional knowledge system, and many more, gender equality. And we actually try to grapple or try to negotiate between environment, society, and research, and to move forward for a sustainable world. Fine, fair enough. Now, let's say, for example, we took up the issue of global warming or climate change. Now, maybe from my own discipline, I try to take the data on precipitation. I try to take the data on say rainfall. I try to take long-term data on temperature. I also try to maybe take some other variables, maybe certain emissions level we are and try to come out with some justifications of the climate change. And maybe I'm coming out with a proposal wherein I'm trying to look at the agricultural scenario and the impact on it. But I fail to come out from my disciplinary orientation. And even if I make an attempt, I have very little knowledge on the environmental engineering or environmental sciences. I have a very little knowledge on the geology and the changes that is taking place. I have a very little knowledge about the development that been initiated, change in the physical structure, physical infrastructure, and subsequent ramification of that. I have a little knowledge on the way of life that's being we are presently following or used to follow. Or is there any changes in the way of life? And the type and nature of the society that we are in, whether we are a need-based society or we become a greed-based society. All those issues, if I have to simultaneously address the climate change or global warming, issue of global warming, all those issues will come together. And no single discipline can work single-handedly. And herein, almost all the discipline will work in tandem. And they have to work in tandem. That is the collaboration we require. That is the collective approach that we require for a sustainable earth and to accomplish many of the goals of the sustainable development. Now, this becomes the multidisciplinary. Again, the question comes that are we really bring a tangible changes in our research agenda, which is mostly primarily being unleashed by the higher education institute? The answer is that maybe partly we have answered that. So when you talk about bringing the changes in the curriculum, when we talk about the integrate the curricula and research, then three important aspects is actually becoming pretty important, and that is in the NEP. If we really want to create a global identity or give certain dimension to the global research, then the sub-regional level issues, I'm again reiterating, sub-regional issues having a certain stake at the global issues. Not necessarily the global issues will always coincide with the sub-regional issues, because the heterogeneity, geographical heterogeneity, because of the different layers of heterogeneity that exist within the society, any form of society, anywhere. The heterogeneity in natural resource endowment, the heterogeneity in the other form of resources, be it human resources, be it physical infrastructure, be it financial support, and many more. So if that be the case, then an attempt has to be made that on the one hand, the global agenda, the global issues, because global issues is not merely a particular issue related to one particular region or community or people. Rather, it is a pan countries, inter-countries, intra-countries affairs. But fine, fair enough, I accepted that. But at the same time, it should not dilute the researches that needs to be there at the sub-regional level. The question is why? I'll give a simple example that will make us the thing simple. If you take, for example, the Rajasthan, and if you take any mountain region, are they similar in any way? Can you give any answer? Anyone you can respond, please. Nilofer Tanvir, madam, can you respond? Nilofer Tanvir, madam. Possibly, ma'am is not there. Anyway, Neha, madam, आप कुछ बताएंगे? Josna, madam. Am I audible?
जी सर, हम आपको सुन पा रहे हैं।
अच्छा, ठीक।
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार।
हम लगातार लेक्चर में जुड़े हैं सर।
रिस्पॉन्ड करेंगे, मतलब
सर मैं जी सर,
आपकी जो सोच है वो आप बता सकते हैं।
इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम पर या किसी भी तरह से शिक्षण के लिए?
या मैंने जो बात आपके जो हमारी जो इनफॉर्मल नॉलेज सिस्टम है और सब रीजनल इश्यूज है, मतलब हम मान लीजिए कि एक तरफ में राजस्थान हो गया और एक तरफ आपने किसी भी माउंटेन स्टेशन देहरादून को ले लीजिए
जी,
कि अगर हम तुलना करना चाहते हैं, इनकी आकलन करना चाहते हैं, तो आकलन तो बना देंगे हम, डेटा लेके बना देंगे, लेकिन इन सही ढंग से दोनों की जो प्रॉब्लम्स है वो तो बड़ा
हाँ जी मैम, जी सर, वो जो स्थानीय प्रॉब्लम्स होंगी वो तो वहीं जाकर या उनके लोगों के साथ के हिसाब से भी हम समझेंगे। जहाँ राजस्थान की बात है वो एक गर्म इलाका है, और उत्तराखंड में अगर हम देहरादून की बात करते हैं तो वो अलग है। क्लासेस के हिसाब से भी उसकी टाइमिंग की भी अलग अलग की जरूरत होगी, और अपने जो हमारे नॉलेज सिस्टम है उसके हिसाब से भी हम उसको अप्लाई कर सकेंगे। बेसिकली चाइल्ड सेंटर्ड एजुकेशन के हिसाब से, या फिर हम अपने किसी भी क्लाइमेट को देखते हुए क्लास का अरेंजमेंट कर सकते हैं।
ओके मैडम, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर रिस्पांस। थैंक यू नीति मैडम। तो
इट्स माय प्लेजर सर।
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच मैडम। सो दिस इज द इश्यूज we are grappling. It's also true that if you follow the trajectory of the researches, the dimension of the research, the direction of the research, the post 1919 scenario, when we are gradually getting attached, getting more close proximity with the global knowledge system and try to become a stakeholder, then at many cases it so happened that sub-regional issues got diluted. Now, when we are talking about the informal knowledge system and formal knowledge system, the integration of both of these two, and if we really become interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, if you really wish to, then the convergence of these two and a kind of a connectivity with the global research agenda, that is pretty important. And possibly the dimension that we are now taking place should be in that direction. And many of the institutions, certainly they are doing that. The type of researches, say for example, I'm giving an example of Dalit studies. I'm giving an example of subaltern history. Or if you talk about the postmodern ideas, whatever we take, or the way the entire scientific body is working, including the nanoparticles, and to explore the what kind of minerals are available on the surface of moon. All those things are actually a journey beyond the realm of your specific discipline. And therein, we have to become multidisciplinary. We have to bring certain variations. Otherwise, possibly, we will remain confined to our disciplinary orientation and all. So I hope that my attempt to make the interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach, how it can be integrated with our research agenda, what kind of changes or the direction we should take, maybe it's like I try to make point on that. Now, having said so, now we are coming to the another issue, and mostly it is the issues related to philosophy. I'm not a philosopher, neither I am having a training, so I may commit mistake while arguing that. Please do forgive me if I commit any mistake, and do make me correction also. So I'm a humble request with that. Now, most of us having a PhD degree, many of us guiding our research scholars. And 2019 and onward, we are added in our PhD coursework, that is the research and publication ethics. Now, what is the full form of PhD? The full form of PhD is Doctor of Philosophy, and it is suffixed by your discipline. Whosoever, wherever you are looking, yes, certain interdisciplinary research is also being carried on, a degree has been given. Say, for example, the Center for Inclusion and Exclusion, Center for, say, for example, Gender Studies, or in that way, various kind of generic subjects, I can say. The way that generic drugs have been, or for that matter, microbiology or bioinformatics, these are actually all generic subjects. The way generic medicines have been developed, similar way generic subjects are coming out, but it is rooted to a particular specific discipline from where the diversification is taking place. That is a good attempt. That is again a way forward, or for that matter, public policy, development studies. I get more information, or it's easy for me because I belong to social science. So it's easy to bring in examples from the social science. So these kind of changes that is taking place, that is actually diluting the disciplinary boundaries, and researches are carried on. But mostly we remain confined that, okay, PhD in, we'll prefer to in economics, because the way the whole educational system and degree procedure is let down, the component is not so flexible. Now, how this flexibility can be added cannot be done alone by the institution individually. It has to be at the policy should also be supplemented, or policy rather supplement that one. Now, having said so, when we mention the word Doctor of Philosophy, and if I just, for the time being, if I drop that in and your discipline, what is coming out? That is precisely important. I hope, for query, my video is not visible at all, no?
Yes, sir.
It's not visible. Somehow or other, it all of a sudden, I don't know, these are the technical glitches now and then we suffer. Uh, so one exclamatory sign is hanging before my video, even if I switching on. So you have to bear my word, voice only. So I do again beg apology. Now, having said so, in research, what are the philosophical issue when I have been given a PhD degree? Generally, we take it in two ways. One is simple, that okay, I got a certain criterion got fulfilled. That is become your entry criterion also. And secondly, it is related to my career advancement or upward mobility in my academic journey. That is also ensuring a PhD degree is ensuring. Accepted, fully accepted. I am not challenging that. It's given. The third and important issue that a PhD degree actually give you a legitimacy to carry on further research independently. That means you got a training through MPhil and PhD from where onwards you can carry on research independently and you can shape the minds and research of your scholars, which we call the research scholars. But these are possibly some general aspect, some given aspect, some known aspect. But every research being carried on at any places, any institutions, by anybody, actually trying to address three philosophical problems. That is why we have resolved these three philosophical problems, and we have addressed these three philosophical issues. That is why I have been doctor of philosophy. Philosophy is something like that which does not belong to a particular discipline. All the discipline basically converges to the philosophy. So when I have been awarded with a PhD degree, that means I overtly or covertly address these philosophical issues. That is the moot point that I will try to delve with for a few more minutes. Now, what are the philosophical problems? The first problem itself is called a philosophical problem within the domain of philosophy. Now, what is the question? Philosophy actually asks questions. And why they ask questions? It is actually correlated to the core issues of research, the fundamental of research, that whether I am adding anything to the existing knowledge system. When I am adding or bringing certain changes in the existing knowledge system, then it is called epistemology. And this knowledge system, as I started with my deliberation, that it is not fixed, it is not given. It's not that we find the ultimate truth, but we are constantly researching. Now, the philosophical problem is simple, that man's place in the universe. That is the philosophical problem we address through research, irrespective of our discipline. Now, the question that immediately will be asked, that only man will possess the earth. And all of us will unanimously answer, no, it's not possible. It's not correct. Sir, only man, they don't possess the earth. So they are other living beings and non-living beings. And then subsequently, philosophy asks more questions. We try to negotiate through our research, through our knowledge system, through the new dimension that we are adding to the existing knowledge system. Now, the question that will come after that, what is reality and what is the mere surface appearance? Now, what is mere surface appearance is not a reality, we know, because I have given you an example from the Hegel. that the surface appearance is generally like that, that okay, it is the sun that is rotating around the earth, but it is the other way around. Or for matter, if you consider your own institution, which is having a physical existence, buildings and etc., and if you go back to the date of establishment of your university or college or institutions, and if you consider with the present, even that there is a huge physical changes took place. So the surface appearance is changing. And if you go beyond the establishment of your university or institution, then the surface was completely different. It might be agricultural land, it might be a forest, or it might be something else. So what is surface appearance and what is the reality? It will not converge. Rather, through research, we'll try to make a convergence between these two. And the next question that comes, that being thrown up by the philosophy, that or is all this physical reality only the surface, only what appears to the senses? The term is very important, what appears to the senses, and only an illusion after all. Then the question philosophy is asking, not the question is posed by me, posed by me. It is the philosophy throwing the questions, and we are trying to answer through our research across the discipline and irrespective of discipline. What about us? Are we only a body, a material organism which avoids pain and seek pleasure? Yes, certainly. If I say that, are we only body? We may not say, we say, no, we are not only a body. Then are you a material organism? That means that you're the cells, the way cells have actually give us a shape, proper shape. There's the biology is doing, the geology is doing, the physiology is doing, the genetic science is doing, biotechnology is doing, cell biology is doing, molecular science is doing. A collection of atoms programmed to grow, to mature, and to self-destruct. A product of the genetic material inherited from the past and a product of the environment in which we lived or have been living. And now you try to answer the questions and put your discipline, you find that all the disciplines implicitly or explicitly are searching the answers of these questions. And if you take the literature to the absolute science, you find that all these questions got incorporated directly or indirectly. Therefore, the major question that comes after that is the most critical questions, crucial questions. Does our reality consist in our being a mind or a soul? That's pretty important and rather pretty challenging, Jonah, which many of us fail to grapple with or fail to reach to that level, that reconciliation between mind and soul. That means how mostly the work that we are doing is the mind that is playing the major role or dominant role. And certainly it should be, it ought to be. There's no doubt about that. But what about the soul? Now, when we talk about the soul or the interrelationship between mind and soul, then we actually transcend the physical boundary or sensory organ can perceive, can sense, will move beyond that. And if you look that entire journey of human civilization, science, critical thinking, art, aesthetics, creative thinking, all actually transcending towards that. And we try to answer that. Yes, sir. So,
Professor Chakravarty, sorry to interrupt you in between.
Huh.
Sir, please finish at 5:15.
Okay,
please.
sir. Okay, thanks for the reminder, sir. I'll adjust accordingly. So the next philosophical question that we are confronting is the relation between individual and society. Now, when we're talking about the relation between individual and society, then the type and form of society actually give a directive to us, your research agenda. Now, if the individual being guided by ethics, then the type of society we'll be having will be a need-based society. Why? Because what is the meaning of ethics? And we are studying research and publication ethics at the year 2019. I consider it as a pity for us. That means we practice certain degree of unethical practices. We resorted to certain unethical practices that forced us, the apex body like UGC, to come out with a course on research and publication ethics. So what got diluted in the within the domain of research is the ethics. Now, what is the ethics? The meaning of ethics. The meaning of ethics is the highest good of all living beings. Not only the human beings. Now the question arises that it has been dictated by certain value. Now, what is value? Value is nothing but the moral judgment. Now, what is moral judgment then? Now, moral judgment is ought to be or ought not to be. Now, the question is that moral judgment doesn't mean right or wrong. We generally took a very individualistic view within the classroom, beyond the classroom, within the family, within the society, where in the name of moral judgment, actually, we denounce the collective approach and say this is right, this is wrong. I cannot be judgmental. No one has given me the power to become that judgmental, that I can easily say right or wrong. So if that not be the case, then what is the reality? Reality is that there should be a collective process through which we decide ought to be or ought not to be. And this collectiveness will define certain value system. And this value system is basically defines the nature of the society that we have created or we want, and the nature of society in reality we succumb to. And if it is a need-based society, then it should be based on certain basic value system which we got from the liberal ideas, liberal thoughts. What is that? The entire liberal thoughts is based upon two particular attributes which called companionship and cooperativeness. When we talk about research collaboration, when we talk about the research ethics, which is equally important, then whether we are actually working to ensure a need-based society or rather we have wholeheartedly adopted a society which is consumption-driven, which is full of consumerism, then the type of society, their individual benefit, individual well-being will outscore the collective well-being. And when individual well-being outscores the collective well-being, the nature of the society changes. So therefore, the society that we are part of in the 60s or 70s or 80s, where actually we grew up, and the society we are confronting in post-1991 scenario, there was a complete departure from a need-based society and we become a greed-based society. And accordingly, our research agenda has simultaneously been changed. And that is why the sub-regional issues got diluted. That is the primary reasons for the dilutions of the sub-regional issues, irrespective of field. And that is why the dilution, that our attention towards informal knowledge system also got diluted or being ignored. So that is again a philosophical problem which is sociological in nature. So therefore, the type of society will actually also depending upon the political problem. And with these, I actually wrap up my my discussion. The political problems are individual and the state, and the moral basis of the state. Now, for example, the moral basis of the state and the individual and state. Certainly, now we have India is a democratic country. Many countries on the world, in world, they adopted the democracy, and democracy is the outcome of the liberal ideas, the critical ideas, the well-being of highest well-being of all living beings, which is actually the part of Vedic philosophy and Buddhist philosophy, or most of the philosophy, which think for the betterment that we are part of nature. We are not different from the nature. We cannot rule over the nature. We cannot change the rule of nature. If we try to change the rule of nature, nature will retaliate. So we forget. And that is why all this environmental crisis we are not talking about. Having said so, the political problem says that, okay, the nation state and the people, they got linearly related. And that actually gives space for the sovereignty. That is why we are a sovereign country. The meaning of sovereignty is the empowerment of the people, and that is depending upon the moral basis of the state. If it is a North Korea, the research agenda, if a country is USA or the country is India, the research agenda and the moral basis of the state would be different. If it is an authoritative country, if it is an authoritarian regime, it is a dictatorship, the research agenda would be different. So, therefore, when we are actually talking about interdisciplinary research, multidisciplinary research, that the guiding force behind that, whether the democratic value, whether the sense of sovereignty, whether the cooperativeness and companionship, have you diluted that one, or whether we are inculcating among the minds of the students and we are carrying this particular philosophy unchanged and intact, and we are uncompromising in nature to uphold that. If we dilute that, at the end of the day, ramification would be that the question of argumentation, which is based on two basic premises, that is called affirmation and critique. If we become too affirmative, our research agenda become affirmative, then too much affirmation paves the way for autocracy. And if we become too critical, it will lead to anarchy. So therefore, we have to, the political problem that we're talking about within the realm of philosophy is the moral basis of the society and the relationship between individual and state. I hope that India as a democratic country, India as a pluralistic society, India which preaches the tolerance, that are the guiding force behind any kind of institutional build-up, and through institution building up of critical minds and setting up the research agenda. So that's all about my submission before you, my humble submission. Again, I beg apology for being delayed or joining in almost a day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MMTTC, Aligarh Muslim University. Thank you very much, all the teacher participants.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so
Thanks
much,
a
sir.
lot. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you so
participants.
much, sir.